Hello, and welcome to Candid Conversations with Dr. Kelsey. I'm your host, Dr. Kelsey, and this is the space where I share my honest thoughts, real experiences, and the no BS conversations I wish more people were having about movement, training, injury recovery, and life as an active human. The goal of this podcast is to help you better understand your body, think more critically about rehab and fitness, and feel more confident making decisions so you can stay active long term. Before we start, a quick reminder. I am a physical therapist, but I am not your physical therapist. Nothing here is medical advice. So if you're dealing with something specific, please reach out to your PT or schedule a session to work with me. All right, now let's get into today's conversation. So today I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't think about, and that's whether your insurance is actually saving you money when it comes to physical therapy, or whether it actually might be costing you more than you realize. And so all of this came about because about a month ago, we had about a month left to use our dental benefits. We were going to lose our benefits. And so we decided to, actually use them. We'd been paying into it. So time to finally actually use our benefits. And finding an in-network dentist with our dental insurance ended up being such a hassle that by the time we finally found one, my husband really wanted to maximize what we can get out of the insurance while we still had it. So we ended up using them even though I wanted to go to a different dentist that I'd used before and actually liked, but they didn't take our insurance. So I went in for my yearly checkup knowing that I was also dealing with some tooth pain on the bottom right. So at my checkup, the dentist has some trouble figuring out which tooth on the bottom right is specifically causing my problems. But she does tell me that the second molar on the bottom right has a crack and will need a crown. And that the crown on the third molar needs to be replaced because apparently it's leaking or something, and then there's a cavity underneath. But there's also a cavity kind of on the side of that same tooth, under the crown. So she thinks that it might need a root canal, but she can't be sure. So she's saying, maybe just replacing the crown can be enough. And then she also mentions that at least one of the crowns that I have on the top is also leaking or something and needs replacing. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I guess it makes sense that I need a crown on that middle tooth because I have so many other crowns because they're from old fillings or something, and then a previous dentist. So I'm at this is a dental chain, and I've been to another dental chain who, in hindsight, seems to push crowns a lot as well. And so, but I didn't know all of this at the time. I know this after the fact, but to me, I'm like, okay, well, I guess it makes sense that because that tooth has, a big filling or whatever, and that's the reason why I needed to get crowns for my other teeth. So that kind of makes sense. And then replacing the crowns, though, seemed weird to me because all of my crowns are less than 5 years old. The oldest one that I have is on the top. And I got that during my last year of PT school. So it was around 5 years ago. So yeah, that was kind of weird to me because I was like, aren't they supposed to last 10 years? But either way, I decided to go ahead with getting the 2 crowns on the bottom anyway. And then even with the stupid dental insurance, I still needed to pay $1,000 out of pocket for the 2 crowns, which, I guess it's not terrible considering I've paid $700 for 1 crown before. Although that was for the same day, the CREC ones. But the ones that I got this time are the ones that they send to a lab. So it took they do the build up and it takes 2 weeks and then you go back and get the permanent crowns. But anyway, so I go for the crown buildup, and after the anesthesia wears off, I start having a lot of pain. And at first I think it's because, it's after my other crowns, it was a little sore or whatever. And so maybe this time it's more painful because I had 2 teeth done at the same time. But after a few days, the pain starts getting significantly worse, and it's starting to like wake me up and prevent me from falling asleep without taking pain medication. So at this point, I'm taking ibuprofen like regularly. When with my previous crowns, like I never had to take pain medication. So I figured, okay, well, the dentist did say I might need a root canal, so this is probably a sign that, you know, worst case scenario, I do need a root canal now. And so I call the dentist's office and say I need a referral to the endodontist because I think the dentist was right and I need a root canal. So so this is a chain. And so I guess their endodontist like goes to different offices, like locations in the Vegas Valley. And so unfortunately the ones she goes to are like all on the other side of town. So I have to drive like half an hour to the appointment. But when I get there, I like wait another hour because these chains are terrible at scheduling apparently. I don't know. So I'm already kind of like this, like I've spent a lot of time here. But she finally sees me, and then she does like the test stuff, and then tells me that the third tooth, that third molar, does need a root canal, but the other tooth that got the crown buildup also needs a root canal apparently, and there's like a crack, like a small crack, I guess, and because of that, she might have to extract it instead. And then she's like saying, oh yeah, and then there's like 2 teeth, so you know, twice the amount of time in the dentist chair or whatever. And then at this point I'm like, this is way more than I bargained for. Like, I mean, all of this is internally, but like in my head, but like, I don't know, like, cause before the initial checkup, like the initial visit, the checkup, I was having like minimal pain. So I knew like I would maybe need something because I was having some pain, but now it's like, okay, now I find out I have to get like these 2 major procedures, and like I'm in more pain than I was before. And I'm thinking also, okay, if that tooth has to get extracted, because it's the one in the middle and it's on the bottom, like I can't just leave it. Like I would have to get like an implant or like a bridge, I think, or whatever, because like it's, you know, you have to chew on it. So then it's like even more things. And then like thinking of someone like drilling into my jawbone, I was like, no, thank you. Like I was like, no, like I'm not going to accept this right off the bat. So yeah, and like I have all this time to think about this because like, you know, because, you know, when you go to the dentist and you have to like wait for the person to come back and be like, here's how much things cost. So like, I'm like waiting, and I'm like waiting for another half an hour because the dental insurance we had was so terrible and complicated that they couldn't even figure out what my, what the estimate would be. So I'm like, okay, just call me, please. So I'm like, I don't want to be here for any longer, like, because it was like lunchtime. I'm like hungry. I've been here for like 2 hours already. So yeah, I leave and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a second opinion because like this doesn't feel right. Like I don't, even if the second opinion tells me I need to get both, like at least I went somewhere else. So I messaged a colleague from my old gym who I knew was an endodontist, and at least I knew his office was close by where I lived. So yeah, I make an appointment, and this experience was so much better. Like his office either blocks off time like directly for patient consults, like they don't just schedule people like during procedures, either that or he's just a lot better at managing his time or something. I don't know, but like I was in and out in under an hour, like, and that includes like taking the imaging and then him like doing his exam thing and talking to me and stuff. And so with the original endodontist, like when I'd gone, because I was taking ibuprofen frequently, like regularly, and so so there was like less pain probably, and then that's probably why she couldn't determine which tooth it was, I guess, that was causing the pain. But then when my colleague, the second opinion, like he did ask me, he's like, hey, when's the last time you took ibuprofen? I was like, oh no, I took like right before I came here. So like not thinking. So he was like, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell which tooth it is because you took, pain medication and it's masking your pain. So I ended up going back the next day, like without taking pain medication for a while so that he can really determine which tooth it was. So yeah, he determined that like that third molar was the one causing my pain. And so that one definitely needed a root canal. But the middle tooth with the crack didn't really need any other intervention right now. I mean, it had the crown buildup, so it needs the permanent crown. But like he said, like he, explained to me, like, because as the crack, like I might need a root canal in 6 months from now, but it's not something that I urgently need to get right now or extract. There's like nothing to suggest it needs to be extracted. Like it's just something that I can monitor and like, if I have issues later, then we'll address it, but like not something that I need to deal with now. And so I felt so much better. And yeah, scheduled the root canal with him, paid out of pocket because I was like, I'm not dealing with that with insurance stuff. And I mean, it was pretty, I don't know, I thought it was reasonable compared to like cost, like looking at stuff up online. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's, it's what I expected to pay. Like, it wasn't like $10,000 or anything. So yeah, so got the root canal, and then the next day, or got the root canal, and then, it's like, weird to say, but like because I've had like I think like 5 or 6 crowns done. Like I've had a lot of dental things over the years. By far, root canal is by far like the biggest. Well, I don't want to say that's the biggest procedure besides my wisdom teeth getting taken out, and I did have to get like 5 teeth pulled before I got braces because I guess my teeth are too big for my mouth or something. I don't know. But besides those two, like which I'm pretty sure I was put to sleep for the wisdom teeth. I don't remember for the other teeth. But anyway, like getting it sounds weird to say, getting the root canal was probably the best dental related experience I've ever had. So at least in the last few years. So there's that. Speaks about him and his work. And then when I went back to get to the original dentist to get the permanent crowns, even she was impressed by his work. So it wasn't just me being like biased or something. So yeah, so get the permanent crowns, get the root canal, get the permanent crowns the next day. And then I'm like, okay, phew, like this is the end of my dental drama that I've been dealing with for like almost a month. But then a few days after the permanent crowns go on, like I start having tooth pain again, but this time it's different. Like it's like this dull ache, but it's on different teeth. It's on the top teeth and like another tooth on the bottom. And then so I start freaking out again because I remember that first dentist mentioning that I might need another crown replaced. So I'm just like I'm getting mad because I'm like, oh my gosh, did like the one that I got the crown from like a few years ago do a bad job or something? Because I'm like, these are supposed to last for like 10 years. And then I'm just like, because like I don't want to say money is tight right now, but definitely like spending $1,000 here and $1,000, like that's not something that we can really do. Right. I guess most people can't really do that, but like, we definitely don't want to be spending more money. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to spend another $1,000 for this freaking crown. And then, so I don't know, I'm like getting myself mad and then the pain's not going away. So I end up going to, instead of going back to that original dentist, I go to another one. So this was a dentist that was recommended by my endodontist colleague, actually. I'd gone to them before, but the reason why I didn't go to them this time is because they didn't take that stupid dental insurance. So I go to them and I pay out of pocket because I'm like, I'll just pay out of pocket. So yeah, she does x-rays. She checks all of my teeth, not just the ones that hurt. And then she's basically like, there's nothing wrong with my teeth. Like, okay, like maybe one of the crowns on the top, like I guess the margins look kind of weird or something, but it's not, the seal is still there and it's not, it doesn't seem like it's causing anything right now. And there's no cavity underneath. So there's no reason to replace that one. And it's on the other side. So it's not it's not the one causing pain. So I was like freaking out about it, but it wasn't, there's nothing to freak out about. And then she, for the teeth that are painful, she says that, she asks if when they put the permanent crowns on, if they did a bite assessment, and I'm like, I don't think they did. And so yeah, she does the bite assessment and then like does the adjusting and stuff and like the shaving and whatever. And then, my teeth feel so much better, like right away, basically, almost right away, like a few minutes, things have to settle, but like that night, like I have zero pain. Yeah, it was such a relief, like only paying, like compared to me thinking I would need to spend another $1,000, this was a fix that, I mean, arguably should have been free because the other dentist should have like done the bite assessment. Then I wouldn't have had to get the second opinion, but at least I only had to spend, quote unquote, had to spend $150 to get this done and get reassurance and stuff about the rest of my teeth versus spending $1,000 on a crown that I didn't need. So all of this to say, after this, then now for sure my dental drama is over, at least for now. I'm sure I'll have dental drama again in the future, but for this particular instance, it's over. Like it's been a week or so and like my teeth are fine. So I feel like it's resolved for now, but all of this to say, it's like we wanted to use our insurance because we're like, okay, we had been paying into it, like might as well use it, because at least they'll cover stuff. But at the end of the day, I still had to pay $1,000 out of pocket. I almost underwent treatment that I didn't need, and which would have been even more money out of pocket. And so it just kind of comes down to like sometimes using your insurance isn't in your best interest. And that leads to the sunk cost fallacy in healthcare, and especially with physical therapy. Because at least with physical therapy, it's one of those things where like the worst that can happen is that nothing happens, basically. Like you don't get better. Which, yes, like if you don't get better, like it could lead to other things down the line, but it's not like with this whole dental situation where it's like, well, the worst that happens is like I get all these procedures done and it like costs a lot of money. But basically when talking about like the sunk cost fallacy with like insurance is that like, okay, you've already paid all of your premiums, and so you're kind of like mentally, and I guess a little financially, but like mentally invested into like using your insurance for care, which is totally reasonable. It's 100% reasonable. Like that's the whole point of having insurance. But sometimes it's not in your best interest. And even if it's clear that it's not working, like that it's not serving you, like because we've spent all the money on the premiums, you're like, even if it's not working, when you're already invested in it, like you continue to try to make it work. And so for physical therapy, like I mentioned, it's like, okay, well, you're paying your monthly premiums, and so might as well use your insurance. So you go somewhere that's in network and it's like a $50 copay or whatever, and then you're like, oh, well, that's, but compared to like a cash pay PT, like my rates for in-person is going to be like a $200 for the first visit. And then I don't do like, and then after that, my model is a little bit different than like a traditional, like than sessions, but at least like, $50 per visit is obviously a lot cheaper than $200 for that first visit. And so like people see that and they're like, well, it's a lot, it's like, yeah, maybe like you'll get better value going cash pay, but like I'm already paying for my insurance, so I might as well use my insurance. And especially if your deductible is met and you don't even need to pay a copay, sometimes it feels like you're getting physical therapy for free because you've already like basically prepaid and you're not paying additional costs. But if you're going, like, so besides the not paying extra costs, like, even if you're paying a cheaper copay, you have to still do the math, because let's say you go for 12 visits. It's like, yeah, you're paying $50 each time, but then, or let's say you had 12 visits and you don't really get better, but you're like, well, at least it was only like $50 compared to like $200. But then if you add it up, like 12 visits times $50 is $600 out of pocket, plus all the hours of your life that you spent driving to the clinic and doing stuff at the session that didn't end up helping you, plus not getting better. So like if you're going 3 times a week for 4 weeks, for a month, then you just spent an entire month kind of wasting your time and wasting $600. Plus if they like bill you for additional stuff, like I don't think it's balance billing. I have to look up what balance billing is. But like sometimes, like if you haven't met your deductible, there's still some extra that wasn't covered. But anyway, yeah, so if you think about it, if you didn't get better, then you just spent all this time and money not getting better. Versus if you go somewhere like for my model, for example, okay, you pay the $200 at the first session. Most, not just me, so most cash pay aren't going to have you come multiple times a week because it is more pricey. So they're going to have you come like once a week. And they're typically going to pay a little bit more. And I say typically, because I will mention later, like not all cash pay is better. But anyway, it's like, even if it seems more expensive, you might end up getting more value for less money. And I know for me, it ends up coming out cheaper because like for 1 month, for like the original, like the initial session plus the month of like the programming, your rehab plan and everything of exercises and all that stuff, for 1 month, it will come out to a total of $280 versus if you went for 12, and it's like a lot less time. It's more efficient because you're not driving to a clinic and stuff. So for me, it's $480 versus you paid $600 for 12 visits if you had a $50 copay with your insurance. So it's like sometimes you have to do the math to see like how much you're actually paying if you're using your insurance. And a lot of this happens because insurance-based PT will have like the constraints of, it's called volume-based care, where it's like the person who's making the decisions is looking at it from a business point of view, which is not inherently evil. Like, you do still have to keep the lights on. You do have to pay rent for the clinic. You have to pay for your administrative staff. You have to pay your clinicians. You have to pay for all of this stuff. So like money has to be made somehow. But it ends up becoming this balancing act of trying to like make money while also providing quality care. And it is possible to provide quality care in the insurance-based PT world. So I'm not saying that insurance-based PT is bad and cash pay is great. It's just there's more constraints in the insurance PT model. And it causes like limited one-on-one time and like pressure to fill up a schedule and like have you come back multiple times because that's the only reason, that's how they're getting paid. And again, this doesn't mean every in-network PT is bad. It's just the system, especially for athletes, the system isn't designed to help people like you who are highly active and want to return to things like triathlon or CrossFit. It's excellent for maybe like the classic when people think about physical therapy, like your grandpa who like is having some hip pain or whatever and like, maybe isn't super active. So again, I'm not talking about the super active grandpas. I'm talking about the ones that just like watch TV or whatever. So like those in-network PTs are excellent for them. It gets them better and and everything. But for people who want to get back to higher level stuff, like the current model doesn't really help them very much. I think I've touched on that in my first podcast episode when I talked about why I left and started my own practice, but I'm not going to get more into it in here. But some of the parallels between this is, so going back to the dental model. So when I went to the second opinion, so this second opinion place for the dentist, they are a private practice. So it's like, they own it. There's 2 dentists and that's it. And they were essentially telling, or actually it was the assistant that was telling me that a lot of the chains will push crowns on people because that's what makes money. So they're pushing these things that you don't necessarily need. Like it's not like they were pushing crowns on healthy teeth. Like they were teeth that had old fillings, but they were pushing me to get crowns that I didn't necessarily need at that moment. So same thing for physical therapy. Sometimes, like I remember when I worked in a clinic, sometimes I would get pressured to have people come back for more visits, even though I'm like, okay, well, they got better at 6 visits, but they're like, hey, we need you to try to keep people for at least 8 visits. And then even with their exercises, I was too efficient. So I would get scolded a lot, like, because they would be done after like 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, I guess they're done. So I would get pressured to try to prolong their session to 40 minutes because then we can bill like 4 units instead of 3 units of time and get paid a little bit more. And then so it's like, okay, well then I have to like try to like stretch out the time that they spend in the clinic doing their exercises. And so again, obviously it does sound sketchy, but it's like it's on the margins of sketchiness. Because there are definitely other ways that some clinics do sketchy things, but if the clinic I was working at was like one of those, I would have left a long time ago. But we were definitely like kind of on the edge, on the margins of trying to balance that stuff. So, like I mentioned, not all insurance-based PTs are bad. One of my friends, she broke her ankle and ended up she used her insurance to go to physical therapy, and like they helped her. And everybody in the clinic, I mean, I think, again, sometimes there's a difference between like the chains and the privately owned like small clinics. But yeah, like everyone at the clinic is actually active, and like her physical therapist actually helped her return to CrossFit. To running and CrossFit. So like, she actually got help. And same thing for me. I know the VA has like a bad reputation, VA healthcare system, but I've gotten physical therapy at the VA and have gotten good results. They like helped resolve my neck pain twice. So, and I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket for that. And I've also been to a cash pay PT who was essentially useless. Like I went there for like a foot issue with running, and I don't know, somehow, even though I told him like, okay, this issue is with running and now it's starting to affect like box jumps, but it wasn't the box jumps at CrossFit that was causing my foot issue. It was the fact like I would run, have the foot issue, and then the pain would start lasting, and then when I do something like box jumps or something, it would be painful because like the pain would get worse because there was already pain. I don't know, he fixated on that or something, and then like spent an entire session quote unquote teaching me how to do box jumps and back squats, which I had 0 issues with, and needed no, I mean, like he was giving me cues, but I'm like, I didn't need it. Like he was teaching me quote unquote how to do them, but then like I would just do it, and he didn't need to give me any more cues because that's not the problem that I was having. I didn't have any foreign problems with those things. But anyway, so yeah, he was terrible. I never went back to him again because I'm like, you're not helping. Like my problem is not with squatting and jumping. Like you're telling me, oh yeah, you need to be able to do these things. Like he was giving me an explanation, but it was not relating to what I was there for, which was to be able to run without pain. And so that kind of brings me to how to tell if your current physical therapist is actually helping you versus not helping you. Because again, it sometimes using your insurance, there's like an illusion that you're getting, it's already paid for, or that it's like free or whatever. But then you're still, even if you're not spending more money, you're spending more time. And I don't mean just the time, like going to the clinic and coming back, the time spent in the sessions. It's like you're wasting the time spent that you could have spent getting better, and now you're just delaying your care if like you're spending 4-6 weeks or even longer doing something that's not actually helping you. And I recognize that not everyone has the option to pay out of pocket like I did with my dental stuff. So if insurance is your only realistic path, like that's completely valid. But like I mentioned, like this isn't necessarily getting a second opinion isn't only limited to going somewhere that's cash pay. Yes, with insurance, sometimes if you do get an assessment for the same thing, your insurance probably won't pay for the second assessment at the other place. But they might pay for like your care after. But I know it does get complicated. But then you have to just kind of think about like, okay, do you want to get better faster and then kind of deal with the complications, or do you want to just get this mediocre care and not get better and then like have that lead to, other things down the road? So there's that. But if you do have the flexibility like I did, and again, if your current PT isn't helping you, like staying just out of habit or because you don't want to deal with it, or because you have that sunk cost thinking that like, well, you already paid for it, like might as well continue. Like, yeah, you have to remember, again, it's not actually helping you with anything. It's not saving you money. It's not saving you time. It's not saving you effort by just staying with somebody that's not helping you. And so that brings me to like, how do you know if you should get a second opinion? And sometimes this can be tricky, especially like early on. Like you don't want to, because sometimes it takes 4 to 6 weeks to see measurable changes, but like, I don't want to tell you like, you gotta go for like a month to see if like, if anything's changed, because again, if you're going 3 times a week and spending $50 each time, like that can be like $600. So when it comes to like measuring progress, like, if you don't see any changes in like 1 or 2 visits, that's almost meaningless. So instead of measuring like progress like that, you're going to look at the process that your physical therapist is using. And again, this is going to apply to both insurance-based and even cash pay. So just because you go to a cash pay clinic doesn't mean you're going to be getting quality care, unfortunately. Like I wish it was this cut and dry on that, but it's not. So to evaluate the physical therapist, like first you're going to ask yourself like, okay, so does this physical therapist know what you want to get back to? And even if like, for example, I've had patients who play hockey and I'm like, I know very little about hockey, but like I do my best to find out, okay, what exactly do they need to get back to? Like what are the motions that they need to get back to? Like what motions make up like the thing that they need to do in their sport or whatever activity they want to get back to. So 1, does your PT know what you want to get back to? 2, can the PT explain their reasoning behind each exercise that they're giving you? And are the exercises actually working towards your goals? Because when I went to that one cash pay guy, like he could definitely explain the reasoning behind doing the stupid box jumps and the squats, but those exercises weren't really working towards my goals because I was already doing box jumps and squats. So like doing more of them, it wasn't going to help me get back to running without foot pain. So your PT needs to be able to explain the reasoning behind the exercise, and the exercises, it has to be clear how those exercises are helping to get you towards reaching your goals. 3 is the plan adapting as you go. And with that, if things are staying the same, does the PT give a reason why? Because your plan is not necessarily going to change every single week. This is especially true for things that take a little bit longer, like a tendinitis type of thing, like a tendon issue. But if they're not changing your plan, Like, they need to be able to give you a reason why. And this comes in a lot with clinics that share patients. So the ones where you're seeing a physical therapist, but it might not be the same physical therapist. And sometimes it's hard to distinguish because some clinics have physical therapy assistants. So you'll see the PT for the initial visit, and then you'll see the PTA for the visits after. Or some people get confused with the aides, like AIDS, which those people are not licensed at all. So there's a difference between the assistant and the aide. So sometimes you're seeing multiple people, and so depending on who the clinician is, like, it can lead to people's plans not progressing, like staying the same, because like they don't really know what's going on with you, and then so they're like, well, this plan seems good enough, and then so they have you do the same thing over and over again. So that's different than because they're gonna, if you ask them for a reason, they're probably gonna be like, oh, well, everything looks good, like whatever. Like, they'll give you kind of like a brush off answer, versus like if there's a reason why nothing changed, it's gonna be like, okay, well, like these exercises where you mentioned they were challenging, they weren't too easy, and so we're gonna still stay here one more week before moving on to something a little bit more difficult. Or maybe it was like, oh, well, last week we tried this, but then it flared you up a little bit, so let's like stay at this level for another week, to give things a chance to calm down before progressing your exercises. So there should be a reason. So your plan should be adapting, but if things stay the same, there should be a reason why. And again, even with like things that take a little bit longer, like tendinopathies, like tendonitis, tendon issues, like there's still going to be some little tweaks here and there, like after every few weeks. It's not going to be exactly the same for the whole like 6 to 8 weeks or longer. So anyway, those are the questions that you're able to answer basically from the very first visit. Maybe it'll take 2 or 3 visits to kind of like get a sense of how the clinic is working or how the physical therapist is. But there are things that you ask and assess without having to wait like the 4 to 6 weeks to know whether you're getting results or not. Because you still need to feel like the person knows what you want and is going to get you to your goals. Like, you shouldn't feel like they're just kind of whatchamacallit. You should it shouldn't feel like the person is using their own biases instead of helping you work towards your goals. And so with that, I know getting a second opinion can be hard, and it also feels weird. Like, you feel bad. You don't want to be insulting, but it's your body. Getting a second opinion, like, you don't necessarily owe this person any loyalty. And you would do it for any major expense, right? Like, if you had to, and again, you're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars on physical therapy, but even like hundreds of dollars. Like, if you had to get something repaired on your car or in your house or something, and it costs like $500 or more, you'd probably get a second opinion or multiple opinions. So, I mean, it's the same thing with physical therapy. So yeah, at the end of the day, regardless of insurance, so whether it's insurance-based or cash pay, arguably, giving, because cash pay, it can be a little bit more money, so like, keep an eye on it a little bit more. But regardless of insurance, you want your physical therapist to be able to give you an individualized plan, be able to communicate with you clearly, be goal oriented, and make sure those goals are aligned with your goals and are not just random ones that they made up based on their own biases, and are willing to explain their reasoning. Because, I mean, like, there's a reason there's a reason behind everything that I do. Like, I'm not just doing random things just because, or I'm not like, just giving someone like a cookie cutter plan. Like, I'm looking at the person in front of me and thinking through all the things that they want, all the things that they need to do to get there, and making their plan from that. So this applies to all physical therapists, whether they use insurance or they do not. So key takeaways here: just because your insurance is covering something doesn't mean that it might be the best choice for you. Like, you have to also think about the time cost as well. So not just the money cost, but the time cost, and also whether your recovery is taking the appropriate amount of time. Because I've definitely had people, it just reminds me of somebody at my old gym who went to physical therapy after like a really bad ankle sprain. And even after going for like 3 or 4 months, like eventually he just kind of went back to doing CrossFit, just by himself. And then he was like, but he was still going to physical therapy. And he was like, I'm doing harder stuff in CrossFit than I am in physical therapy. And then I was like, well, then why are you still going to physical therapy? Because then at that point, it's like, there's not really a reason to go and he was pretty vocal too about like, hey, why are we doing this? Like, why aren't I doing this yet? Like, why am I still doing this easy stuff? And it seemed like he wasn't really getting any answers from the person. And so he really got the sense that they were just trying to milk his insurance or something. And eventually he did stop going there. But, at that point, it's like, well, if he ended up just kind of like going back to CrossFit on his own, like, was it worth going there to begin with, So it's worth thinking about all of these things. And with that, I know trying to find someone in network can be difficult to begin with. And then with the insurance stuff, like trying to get a second opinion can also be like a pain, but you still have more agency than this insurance system wants you to think that you do. Like, at the end of the day, it's still your body. So if whatever healthcare practitioner is not helping you, you have the rights to go somewhere else and get a second opinion to make sure that you're going in the right direction. And lastly, if something feels off about your care, trust that instinct. So like with me, I'm like, okay, do I really need 2 root canals? Like, I don't know. I'm in a lot of pain, but I feel like it's not, like, I didn't have that much pain before. So, and then same thing for physical therapy. If you're going and you're like, same exercises week after week after week, and you're like, I don't know, this isn't really helping me, probably trust that instinct and maybe ask around maybe. Like, I've had people kind of ask me questions, and even if they don't work with me eventually, I at least give them some advice and like some things that they can ask their physical therapist for, because maybe that, especially if that physical therapist isn't used to working with like a CrossFitter or something, like they might not have thought of it. So, trust your instinct, ask more questions, get a second opinion if you need to. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving my podcast a follow and leaving a rating to help others find this podcast. And thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next conversation.